Long ago, in a time when the world was still young and full of magic, humans and animals lived in harmony, and death was unknown. People lived forever, growing old but never dying. Though life was sometimes hard, there was always hope, laughter, and the joy of knowing that tomorrow would come without fail. In this world, stories traveled far and wide, shared by the elders by the fire at night. The most beloved story was about the great sky god who ruled over all the living beings on Earth. He was wise and kind, watching over humans and creatures with a patient eye. But he had a messenger, a sly and clever chameleon named Njamba, who carried messages between the heavens and the earth. One day, the world became crowded. The elders were old but still strong, and the young grew up but never took their places. Food grew scarce, and arguments became more common as space dwindled. The great sky god saw that balance was shifting and knew something had to change. After much thought, he called for Njamba. Njamba, the great sky god spoke, his voice deep and rumbling like distant thunder. I need you to take a message to the earth. Go and tell the humans that they will no longer live forever. They will age, and when their time comes, they will leave this world and journey to the next, where peace awaits. Njamba's eyes, which could shift and dart independently, glistened with mischief. He knew this was an important task, but the thought of how people would react amused him. Yet, deep down, he respected the task given to him by the great sky god. But unknown to Njamba, there was another messenger in the heavens, the dog named Orun. Orun was loyal, swift, and true of heart. He overheard the great sky god's instructions and decided to bring a different message to the humans. Orun was filled with compassion and could not bear to see humans suffer. He resolved to tell them, "You will live forever, and death will not come for you." Njamba, who loved to take his time and be the center of attention, set off on his journey lazily. He stopped by streams, chatted with birds, and danced under the warm sun. He reveled in the freedom of carrying such an important message, confident that he could deliver it whenever he pleased. Meanwhile, Orun, with his keen ears and boundless energy, raced across the skies and through the forests to reach the humans. He barked and howled, gathering the people from every corner of the village. When they were all present, he stood on a rock and spoke in a clear, booming voice. "Hear me, people of the earth. The great sky god has decreed that you shall live forever. There is no end to your days. You will be as eternal as the stars above." The people erupted in joy. They sang songs and danced, for they feared no end to their lives. They felt reassured that they would see their children grow and their children's children without ever knowing the pain of loss. Just then, Njamba arrived. He saw the people celebrating and Orun standing proudly, his tail wagging. Njamba's face darkened as he realized what had happened. "Orun," he hissed, "what have you done?" The message was not for eternal life, but for the acceptance of death. Orun's eyes softened as he looked at Njamba. "I could not bear to bring sorrow to these people. Life has been beautiful, and they deserve to keep it that way." But Njamba, knowing the weight of his task, leaped onto the same rock. His voice was sharp and clear, slicing through the laughter and music. "Hear me, humans. You have been told a falsehood. The true message is that life is not endless. When your time comes, you shall depart from this world and move to another, where peace and rest await you." The people stopped, their joy turning to shock and grief. They turned to Orun, who now lowered his head, guilt clouding his eyes. Whispers ran through the crowd, growing louder until they became cries of anger and confusion. Children clung to their mothers, and the elderly closed their eyes in silent acceptance. The great sky god, watching from above, called down to the earth. "Humans, it was my will that you would know death. But because of this confusion, death shall come with sorrow and fear, for it was not welcomed as it should have been." Njamba bowed his head, for he knew that in delaying his task, he had let chaos enter the world. Orun, with a heavy heart, lay down at the edge of the village, forever watching over the humans as a reminder of the message he tried to change. And so, from that day, death came into the world. It was not a peaceful passage as the great sky god had intended, but one wrapped in confusion and fear. Yet over generations, humans learned to accept it, finding comfort in the stories of the next world, a place where peace, rest, and reunion awaited. To this day, when chameleons move slowly across the ground, The elders say it is Njamba, still thinking carefully about the messages he carries. And when a dog lies with sad eyes by the fire, the children know it is Orun's spirit, watching and protecting, always full of love and regret for what might have been.